All right, and we are back again with another episode this week. Welcome into From College to Combine. As always, I am one of your hosts, Michael Sicoli. This week, you're going to notice that I am not next to Riley Millette, unless Riley has completely changed from his appearance from when I last time I saw him. This week, I'm joined by Brandon Haye of the IDP Guys, someone I am lucky to have with us today because his Devi knowledge, his fantasy football knowledge is unmatched, might I say. How are you doing today, Brandon?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks. I'm lucky to have you again, Brandon. So we got a good show lined up this week, a very straightforward show because this is kind of, I think, dare I say, this is one of the last slow weeks of the NFL season. We got training camp kicking off in Vegas this week. We have every other training camp kicking off next week. So we'll have some preliminary stuff for that. And with that in mind, before we get into our big segment of the show today, which will be about best ball, again, a total July festival, I want to give a shout out to For Frequency's Sake. That is where you're probably watching right now. That is where it goes live. Definitely worth a follow at FFSQC on Twitter, on YouTube. I know they're launching Discord channels now as well, so definitely check them out. And of course, IDP Guys, where both myself and Brandon put out some amazing content. And Brandon has, I know, Brandon, you do decoding Devi, don't you? Right?
Yes, I do. I haven't done one this week, but yes, I do Decoding Devi. I try to do it weekly.
Yeah, weekly show that where everyone is concerned. The average people, even myself included, we're talking about the stars in December. Brandon's talking about them now, and it's better to get ahead of the curve. It's definitely a show you want to check out, and that's going to be on the YouTube of the IDP Guys. So definitely check that out. IDP Guys, Twitter, YouTube. Check us out at the expo in a month. Brandon, are you going to be there? Yeah, you are, right? You are going to be at the expo.
Yes, I'll be at that expo. I was there last year. It was a lot of fun, so I'm looking forward to it again. And I think there's going to be more people from IDP Guys this year, so it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is my first time going myself. I'll be there in a month. So if you want to come join us, join a bunch of people in the industry, there's a code available, guys. There's a sale that the IDP Guys are offering. So check out the website for all that, idpguys.org. But with all that said, let's jump into kind of a question to start off. Normally we run through headlines, but it's July. These headlines are boring to me. I'm past them. Instead, I want to talk about the training camps that are coming up. Like I said, Vegas kicked off their training camp. Everyone else is going full swing of it. Brandon, who needs a good training camp? Because we've been talking about, we had the mini camp, we had all that, and now we're heading into where it really matters more.
Yeah, one is kind of either or. I think for the Packers, it's Christian Watson or Romeo Doubs. I saw that the Packers are talking to John Brown to sign him at wide receiver. So to me, that worries me a little bit that maybe the rookies aren't showing enough in camp. They need someone opposite Alan Lazard. So I think both of them need to not only perform well to get on the field, but to get that chemistry with Aaron Rodgers, because we know with Rodgers, when wide receivers make mistakes, he gets like really upset with them and refuses to throw them the ball. So I think for both of those players, that a lot of people in the fantasy community or just NFL fans think are going to do well this year just need to show out in camp.
Yeah, I mean, we've been chasing that Devontae Adams replacement. Truthfully, there isn't one. Even if they add John Brown, who I didn't hear that rumor, but that makes a lot of sense to me. They need someone to step up. And Alan Lazard's good. I like Alan Lazard, although his ADP is climbing a little bit too high for my liking. But we all want, if there's upside here, it's not with Lazard. It's with Dubes. It's with Watson. And I would love to see them take that step in minicamp. But I'll throw out another name. I've been talking about a couple of these for a while, but I'm going to bring up one that I talked about all offseason because I loved him that much. Treylon Burks, a first-round talent of the Titans, did not have the rookie minicamp that we were hoping for. And the days where we overreact to rookie minicamps, that's just, that's old school. We shouldn't be doing that, but wasn't really out there. Had trouble with conditioning, had struggled with his asthma. Fresh start going into camp. We'll see what he looks like. We'll get a little bit more of an idea on how, what his opportunity is to jump to the number one spot. Because right now, he's around that 4-3 on that team. He's behind Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, and as well as obviously Robert Woods, the new veteran addition. So Yeah, it's. I think he really needs it, despite me being a huge fan of the talent.
Okay, another one for me is Kenny Galladay with the Giants. He got the big contract last year, didn't really do much. They have new coaching staff. They've drafted a lot of those fast, speedy wide receivers, to add. Um, and I just think, they probably have a short leash for him with the new coaching staff if they find another wide receiver that can either stay healthy or get production on the field. I think he just to get back into the top of the depth chart for the team with the new coaching staff. I think Galladay really needs to be impressive in camp.
He does, and it's such a good opportunity as well. Like obviously Daniel Jones, we're not excited about Daniel Jones number one, but Kenny Galladay saw 16 red zone targets last year and turned those into 0 touchdowns, which is absurd of amount of an outlier, honestly, with the type of player that Kenny Galladay is and always has been on the touchdown now. But I'm gonna throw out another name. I'll just do one more. I'll hint at KJ Osborne. I've been talking about KJ Osborne the entire year. I just took him in Scott Fishbowl. Huge fan. Think he's the best fit is in best ball rather than redraft. Still like him. But the other name I'm going to throw out is Chase Claypool, who, if you check out the Fantasy Ladder podcast, they just did a Steelers breakdown yesterday. Check that out on the IDP Guys YouTube. But I talked about Chase Claypool. And I think there's a huge misconception that Chase Claypool is on his fourth year, fifth year. Like, he just finished his second year. He put up a okay year, and he had a great rookie year. That wasn't Justin Jefferson, wasn't Jamar Chase, but he had a very strong year. Something that he put up lines that only we saw from Calvin Johnson, things like that, where the touchdowns, the yardage, the usage, all that instant impact. And Ben was not that great that year either. And last year he fell off a cliff. That's Ben I'm talking about. He had an 8th most red zone attempts and turned that into just 17 touchdowns. That was 87, by the way. 87 passing attempts turned into 17 touchdowns. That's abysmal. I think Claypool has a lot of room to grow in this offense. I think there's a world that he takes some more slot work, and that would be very interesting to me. Starts in camp.
Yeah, I think that's a good call too on Claypool. I think, outside the football aspect, him just as a person maturing, because he just shows, there's that one play where he got a first down in under 2 minutes and he did the first down sign and didn't, he made up an excuse. And we've just seen that. I just wonder because they drafted George Pickens, another great talent, but someone with maturity issues also. So all of that. And then with, Deontay Johnson, are they going to keep him or not? So I think it's a big year for Claypool to, kind of
establish himself.
Yeah, establish himself on the team and, make sure that that he doesn't get passed. So my last one is Tylan Wallace for the Baltimore Ravens, wide receiver. They need a second receiver opposite Rashad Bateman. There's Duvernay there. I wasn't huge on Wallace when he came out of college. I think he's more of just a contested catch guy. But, there's plenty of opportunity in that offense with how Lamar runs around and, just to get those targets. And even though I think the Ravens are going to focus more on running the ball with J.K. Dobbins returning, there's still plenty of opportunities there because there's just Andrews. And then most people think Bateman is going to have a huge jump. He's still only a second-year player that didn't get a ton of opportunities last year. So if Wallace really wants to, get that opportunity, this is the perfect time for him to show up in camp and take that second wide receiver spot.
It's funny because I'm going to paint a quick picture here that last night my roommate works 3 to 11. I work 9 to 5 pretty much. And so when he finally gets back, we link up at 1 in the morning, so to speak. That's the only time we get to see each other. And naturally, I talk about this show. I talk about what we were going to do today. I was going to bring up this question: who needs a good camp? And he brought up Tylan Wallace, a guy that has such a good opportunity here to be the number 2 for a team. And maybe that doesn't matter because it's Baltimore, lower passing volume, but he has that room. And there is a non-zero world, I wouldn't project at all, that he leads the receivers. Like you said, Bateman's not locked. Bateman's locked into snaps, but he's not locked into targets. We projected it that way because we think he's the best player, but not proven. So I definitely like that pick as well. It's such a murky situation. And that will be the opening question. That will be our who needs to be have a good training camp. I think it's a really important thing as we head into it. But now we're getting into meat of it, Brandon. We're getting into the meat of the show, the best ball part. And that's what we've been doing for the past June, the past July, because it's a little bit too early for redraft. It's a little bit too late in the year for Dynasty, but best ball, that's where it's at. So we're going to throw out some names that we want to be targeting in our drafts before we talk about some fades. That's very important to talk about on both ends because, avoid the mines, draft the gems. So do you want to kick it off? Or do you want me to kick it off? I'll let you decide. You're the guest.
I'll kick it off with a one target. I've been trying to, get him included in any dynasty trades. Russell Gage, he went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's best ball ADP wide receiver 37. So we don't know when Chris Godwin's coming back. And even when Chris Godwin comes back, Russell Gage is still going to be wide receiver 3 on that team. And we saw with Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and Antonio Brown, Tom Brady can support those 3 wide receivers. So I really like Russell Gage there. I think he'll finish inside the top 30, especially in best ball. I think he's a really good value there because Brady, you want any weapons that are attached to him. If they don't have Gronk, unless he comes back. So, and then, they have Kate Otten at tight end, which I like, but since they don't have that experience, playmaker at tight end, I think the slot could be even more important for the Buccaneers.
It's interesting because he's such a huge rise over the last month. Of everyone's starting to realize with more news coming out, with more people tuning in, Chris Godwin's not going to be ready for the start of this year. He might not be ready. I don't think enough people are talking about the real world that he starts the year on the IR. Given that IR short term now, it's a 4-game type of situation. I think that could totally happen. And we start to see Chris Godwin come back around the 12-month timetable, which is still normal for ACL injuries. And that would be November. That's not, it's not September. It's not November. It's not September. It's not October. That's a lot of runtime for Russell Gage in the slot for Tom Brady. I do worry about how high his ADP could crawl. What point would you kind of start to veer away if he crawls a little bit too high?
I would say probably around 28-ish. If even though I think he'll finish inside the top 30, I think it's a little fringe, that area. So if it crows too far ahead of that 30 spot, while I like him, I don't think he has the the ceiling of being like a top 24 receiver necessarily. So I would want someone that would have that potential at that spot.
Yeah, totally understandable. I'll throw out my name. Somebody that I have at every single point in my football knowledge fantasy space career, I have disparaged Mr. Marquez Valdes-Scantling because he's not that great of a receiver. He doesn't have wide receiver 1 upside. He's not a wide receiver 1 in terms of NFL talent. He's not going to be it for fantasy. But he was the guy that Casey wanted more than anyone else in this group. They wanted him more than Juju. And I like Juju. I think Juju will have a good year. But Marquez Valdes-Scantling has this deep role. Anybody, I'm starting to hear talk of Mecole Hardman becoming a sleeper, and he's not, because Mecole Hardman's not the deep threat on this team. He's failed repeatedly to do that. That is Marquez Valdes-Scantling, and that's somebody who's a great target in best ball because we don't have to guess. We don't have to guess the week he catches a 60-yard touchdown, a 50-yard touchdown, or even just a 50-yard bomb on top of a couple other catches. There's genuinely good upside relative to cost. Now, again, I don't think top 10. I don't think top 12. I don't even think top 15. But he could sneak in the top 24, and on a week-to-week basis, he can win you a week because he's attached to Patrick Mahomes in a Chiefs offense that I think might be passing the ball a little bit more than people might be projecting even, which is already a high number because I think the Chiefs are going to be clawing for a little bit more games than they were in years past. So at wide receiver 49, that's a good investment to me. That's it's your wide receiver 5, it's your wide receiver 6. You can grab a more stable guy at any point in your draft, but Marquez Valdes-Scantling win you a week. That's a really good type of player to have at wide receiver 49.
No, I definitely agree. And I think personally it's going to go for Kansas City. It's going to go Kelsey, obviously. Juju's going to get his. And I think to I think to replace Tyreek, it's going to be a mixture of three players, Sky Moore, Cole Hardman, and MVS. But MVS, like you said, has the upside of those long touchdowns, and at that spot, he's definitely worth picking up because he's going to win you some weeks.
Sky Moore is another name that we could have mentioned before as well, of a guy who needs a good camp because he missed all of rookie minicamp with an injury. He has not played really for the Chiefs, and that's Marquez Valdes-Scantling was rumored to be, or not rumored, he was reported to be the best receiver at that rookie minicamp, which I don't care as much about, but that means he has to step up. He has to step up. Sky Moore already has enough of a hurdle to overcome just being a rookie trying to be an instant starter. You got MVS kind of locked into an outside role to me, and that's if he's getting snaps, he's gonna get deep targets, and I kind of like that in best ball formats where I don't have to guess the week.
Right, definitely. And back to Sky Moore just real quick. I think everyone thought Sky Moore was going to be the replacement to Tyreek, which I don't think he is. I think I like his future in Dynasty, but this year I think he's going to be a middling, fantasy producer at least. Better probably to the Chiefs than actually fantasy, but in years in the future, he definitely could make his way into a wide receiver one type there. So the guy that next guy I'm going to say best ball. I've loved him ever since he was drafted. Didn't love where he was drafted. It's KJ Hamler for the Denver Broncos. So I know most people are more excited for Russell Wilson with Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton, and then some with Tim Patrick. But I think KJ Hamler could fit the role of a poor man's Tyler Lockett for Russell Wilson. He can go down the field. He's a good route runner. He's good, quick in and out of breaks. And he even said he wants to be Russell Wilson's Tyler Lockett. He's another, like MVS. I wouldn't trust him week to week, but he's going to have huge weeks where he explodes for, maybe 5 catches, over 100 yards, and a touchdown or something like that. So I really like KJ Hamler, and he's going as wide receiver 86. So definitely think he's going to outproduce that. And, I always like wide receivers attached to good quarterbacks, especially Russell Wilson. And we know, he can support multiple receivers, and that's why I like Hamler.
I thought about it, and I like that pick because the cost is so nothing. If you're wrong, you didn't really lose anything on it. But it's who gets the slot work, because I really do think that's going to be Jerry Jeudy, and I think Tim Patrick's on the outside. I think Cortland Sutton's on the outside. I don't think KJ Hamler will sniff the outside. So if KJ Hamler, I think it'll take an injury to Jerry Jeudy for him to get on the field. I see the upside of he's a big play guy that I shouldn't be doubting KJ Hamler because I am a huge Paris Campbell truther, and it's a very similar situation. But I do like it relative to cost. I'll throw out one more name. So I actually teased to it before because I quickly glanced over, but I said it wrong. KJ Osborne. I'm going to take just 30 seconds because, again, I've talked everyone's ears off KJ Osborne, but he's a better target in best ball than anything else. He is now in a system that should be utilizing 3 wide receiver sets a lot more. He's still, despite my huge influence over the fantasy community, comes at a huge discount at wide receiver 67. There's a real world that the Vikings can support 3 wide receivers. I think that's possible. And while I wouldn't project that, I don't have to pick the weeks with KJ Osborne because I think he's good for a long touchdown on the out route, or not out route, but on a elongated wheel, so to say. We've seen him do that a number of times. Adam Thielen's no lock for health. To me, it's a dart throw in what I project to be a very good offense. In fact, the other day being yesterday, I tossed $5 down, Brandon. I tossed $5 down on Kevin McConnell to be the head coach of the year because I'm that confident that the Vikings are going to take the NFC by storm and then crumble in the playoffs. But take the NFC by storm. So what do you think of KJ Osborne? Because I tend to need someone to hold me in check, and I'm curious if you're the person to do that.
I like that. I like that pick. I like Osborne. And I do think that offense is going to be better. I think they're going to throw the ball more more just in general, and get those wide receivers more touches because they have good wide receivers, and we saw even last year on limited opportunities that Osborne had that big playability. So and we saw with the Rams they had those three wide receivers sets quite a bit. So if the Vikings do that, then I do like Osborne because as long as he's on the field more, he's going to get more opportunities.
Do you have any more targets you want to throw out there? Do you want to jump to fades?
Yeah, I have one more target, and it is Jamison Williams. He's at wide receiver 62. I know he has the injury, but getting drafted that late, I think he's worth the gamble, especially in best ball, because whenever he does come back, he has the potential to be a top 20 receiver the rest of the way once he's in there because his big playability. The Lions really need that field stretcher, and like last year with Amon St. Brown, they seem to do a good job of coming up with different ways to get playmakers the ball. So I do have faith in them doing that. And I think Jamison Williams could be a league winner if he is able to come back healthy, even just midway through the year.
Yeah, I have nothing more to add to that because I think that's a really great target. A person that in a draft class that was a fairly good draft class at the total top, nobody's talking about James Williams right now. It's because of the injury. I understand why there's not as much headlines. It's just wait and see, but totally under the radar for the prospect that he was. I'll throw out one more target. We're going to jump to fades. My guy, Elijah Moore. I love Elijah Moore. Everyone loves Elijah Moore, and he's going off the board as a wide receiver 33. That's not a nothing price tag. I think he beats that. I think he confidently beats that because he has put up so many different metrics that put him in elite company. Guys who did what he did when he the target rate that he commanded in the reps that he got was on par with elite receivers. And now we enter the second year where we see it used to be third year wide receiver elite. Now when it's become more prevalent, it's that second year. The Jets have made strides in this offense that they've bulked up the line. They've established a rushing attack. That's going to help everything. Like the presence of Breece Hall is not just going to be, okay, rip Michael Carter, go Breece Hall. Good for Zach Wilson. It's good for Elijah Moore too because they can keep Elijah Moore on the field. Drives will be sustained. It's more red zone opportunity. And Elijah Moore is a very talented wide receiver who will be, I think he'll be the number one target for Zach Wilson. Does that matter as much to live up to wide receiver 33? We'll see. But he's the type of player that has a big play potential on every single time he touches the ball. That is a both great fit for redraft as well as best ball. Because there will be some weeks where he hurts you. Because the Jets are the Jets and the Jets are going to jet. But I'm willing to take the shot on best ball. I'll take the shot in Dynasty. I'll take the shot in redraft. I'll pay up and above out of the nose to get him as a wide receiver 3. I'll be more than happy with that as an upside type of swing.
Yeah, anyone that knows me ever since before his rookie year, Elijah Moore, I've been a huge Elijah Moore fan. I had him near the top of my wide receivers, just behind Jamar Chase. I love that call because a lot of people are going to focus on Garrett Wilson getting drafted in the first round, but I think both of them are going to be used a lot. And Elijah Moore, they're going to move him all over the field. I think we saw in that little stretch mid-season, and that wasn't even with Zach Wilson. That was with Mike all White. The other crap. Yeah, all the other crappy quarterbacks the Jets had, and he was burning players. A lot of times he'd be wide open. They just couldn't get him the ball because of bad quarterback play. So I think if Zach Wilson can progress, then I think Elijah Moore, that's a great place to pick him because he definitely has top 20 potential.
Yeah, I obviously I completely agree. So are there any fades that you want to throw out there?
Yeah, so one, I know Twitter goes back and forth about this player, Gabe Davis for the Buffalo Bills. I like him, and I think he will have a better year. But he's currently getting drafted as wide receiver 23, and they added Jamison Crowder, added James Cook as a receiving back, and Josh Allen. The only one he really force feeds is Stephon Diggs, and I think everyone else is just kind of whoever's open. So I think Gabe Davis will have a good year. I'm not so confident he's going to finish within the top 24. So that ADP is too high for me for him.
I like that we both are on the same page of, I think maybe it's the Twitter cesspool, but everyone loves to hate on Gabe Davis because of the ADP. I like him. I think he's going to have a good year. I think it's going to be what we can consider a breakout. But does he hit wide receiver 22 in value? Probably not. And that's or if he does, you're getting what you're paying for. And that's not what I really want in best ball. I like taking the long shots, especially in this format. So I as much as I like him, I've touted him as a breakout. We've gone too far with him. I'll throw out Josh Jacobs, running back of the Las Vegas Raiders. Had his fifth-year option declined this offseason. He should be the locked-in starter. I am worried. I am worried at RB22 that he's going to be finishing RB18, RB19, RB20. And even if you're drafting him at 22, it's not going to feel like a win. Because when you're drafting those guys, I think he's going to do more or less what Zeke did in the second half of last year. He's going to get a decent amount of volume. It's not going to feel good. The week-to-week upside is going to be very limited in what the Raiders are going to pass the ball a lot in this Josh McDaniels system that has Davante Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller. I don't know what Josh Jacobs' weekly upside is. I don't think they're going to be running the ball as much in the red zone. I think they'll be going with Derek Carr to Davante Adams and Hunter Renfrow, two of the best red zone targets in football. So if Josh Jacobs, even if he has greater touchdown upside now that the offense is better, he's not the focus of this team at all. And then you also factor in that they added Zamir White. Josh McDaniels said, I want a different running back. They added him in. They have Kenyon Drake still, who not going to act like Kenyon Drake scares me off of Josh Jacobs, but still there, still not a garbage player. There's a lot of reasons for me to be concerned, and that's why he's going that RB dead zone. And he's one of those names I'm just willing to pass on, especially in best ball. I still have to draft targets on screen. Any thoughts on Josh Jacobs, Brandon?
I like Josh Jacobs as the player, but yeah, it worries me because what is McDaniels going to do? Is he going to continue that Patriots way where you're never going to know the running back? I think he's better than that, but I don't think he has those high upside weeks that some of the other running backs would have, and I think Jacobs, like you were talking about, is more of that constant. He's going to get you a constant, double digit, but that isn't going to give you those huge weeks. So, and I do agree with that, and we just don't know with Davante Adams there, Darren Waller, Hunter Renfrow. They just gave that extension, so they're going to want to give the ball to all three. All three of them might have 100 targets, so that means less targets for running backs. So, yeah, I definitely agree. I like Josh Jacobs as the player. Don't love his situation currently with the Raiders.
Do you have anyone else you want to throw out there as a fade?
Yes, my other one, and I don't know why, I just have never really been a big fan of this player. It's Mike Williams for the Chargers. I think he's going to be a good receiver for them this year, but he's currently going as wide receiver 14, and only one time in his career has he finished inside the top 30. And that was this past year. I more say that's the anomaly than the other years. I know everyone loves Justin Herbert and everything. With Mike Williams' injuries and everything, I just think that's a little too high ADP wise for me.
It's fair. The thing is, I don't view it as a fluke because I think the situation is the same. I think I've always been a Mike Williams stan. I have been a huge fan ever since Clemson. I thought the injuries held him back initially, as well as Phillip Rivers' ailing situation. And I am on the Justin Herbert train of I think QB1 is well within the realm of outcomes. I have him as my QB2 in my ranks right now. For that to happen, and I have him leading, according to my ranks, I have him leading the league in passing yards. With that in mind, that's going to go to Mike Williams. That's going to go to Keenan Allen. I don't think Gerald Everett's stepping up at tight end. I don't know how much more Eckler can be used in the passing game. I think Mike Williams had a lot of lapses last year, and I think they'll figure it out this year when I think all the Chargers it's bold for me to say the Chargers finally take a step forward, but I'm going to say the Chargers finally take a step forward and get over that hurdle. And for that to happen, I think Mike Williams will be that guy, especially in best ball, where I think there's a lot more, there's a lot of volatility with Mike Williams, and I'm best ball helps kind of ease my concerns with that. But I'll throw out another name, and it's a shame because this guy just went to a Super Bowl, Brandon. Just went to a Super Bowl. Exceeded all expectations. Joe Burrow, quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals, is a very good player. He's good. He's a very good player. He has one of the best receivers in the league in Jamar Chase. He's going off the board as the QB6, and that does scare me. I don't like seeing Joe Burrow at the board off the board at QB6 because there's so many other names that you can choose over him, let alone quarterback, because I think this is about where he is going to be ranked in most circles because he's not going to be running the ball a ton. He'll move, but he's not going to run the ball. So he's going to be behind the Lamar Jacksons, Jalen Hurts. I will still take guys in higher passing volume offenses. There's Tom Brady going behind him. I'll take Russell Wilson, who's going behind him. There's obviously Josh Allen. There's Kyler Murray. There's so many different quarterbacks I'd rather take. And this is before you factor in just overall ADP, because I'm scared alone about taking a quarterback high. And Joe Burrow is going off the board as the QB6. It's going off the board pretty much in that 5th, 6th, 7th round. Not a fan, Brandon. I'm just not. I don't like it. I don't know. The weekly ceiling alone, I can see the argument for it being high. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, I get it. The Bengals run a very balanced offense. Joe Mixon gets his. He gets his 280 carries. He is a big part of this team. This is not a Tom Brady where he's chucking the ball 45 times a game. It's not even prime Aaron Rodgers or something like that. This is closer to now Aaron Rodgers, where you need hyper efficiency to live up to QB6 ADP. I don't think it happens. I'm not willing to pay that price.
Yeah, I tend to agree too, because you're really, if you're getting Burrow at this spot, you really need him to throw 3 touchdowns a game at the very least. And there's going to be weeks where they get it down and they just hand it off to Mixon, or Mixon gets some in the red zone. And he doesn't really run that much. I actually had an argument with someone that was arguing with me that Joe Burrow was just as mobile as Justin Herbert. And I was like, no, even before the injury, he wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, he can move around in the pocket, but Herbert has the tools and the running ability to get you the yards downfield, and Burrow isn't going to really do that. So yeah, that definitely worries me because I'm actually surprised in his ADP because it's before both Kyler Murray and Jalen Hurts, who they could have bad passing games, and just because of their rushing ability would have that higher ability to stay in that top 5 quarterback range.
Yeah, it's out of control, honestly. But that's the love that Joe Burrow commands, being as cool as he is and as successful as he was last season. So, what you got one more fade to throw at us?
Yes, this one I don't feel great about, but James Conner at running back 15 for the Cardinals. If you look at his, he's truly saved by all the touchdowns, and and Kingsbury did this with Kenyon Drake too. So he's had a couple of years of doing this, but just if that touchdown range just goes down, he's not going to be nearly as high. His rushing average last year wasn't very good. Chase Edmonds had the much better run per carry, over 5, and James Conner had, I think, 3.6. And sometimes it just looked like he was like slugging through, but when when they would drive down to the 2, he would just fall in the end zone. So that definitely could happen this year, but I think there's some regression. I could see him falling out of that range of top 15 to be a lower end running back too.
I think you're on the nose with it. And part of my worry with James Conner, I don't like projecting injury. I don't project injury. That man suffered a lot. And last year was really the first year he kind of put it all together. He's getting a year older. He's going to be given a hefty workload that I don't think they're going to ease off until he gets hurt. And I don't know. I don't know how long James Conner lasts. And that's not the mindset I like to promote. That's not the mindset I project in. But it's something you have to factor in. You have to factor in that James Conner carries a higher injury risk and you're taking him very high in your drafts. I'll throw out my last fade. I've got plenty, but I'll throw out this one. Somebody that lasted an unbelievable amount of time in the Scott Fishbowl, and I still couldn't bring myself to take him. DK Metcalf. I don't care that he's going off the board at a discount. He's going off the board as the wide receiver 21. I'm going to throw out Gabe Davis because he shouldn't be up here either. But that's going next to Brandon Cooks, going out next to Allen Robinson. He's going a little bit ahead of both those guys. And I would confidently take both over DK because, yes, DK is a big play machine. And you give him a screen, you can take that all the way. That's lovely for best ball. I don't know if the Seahawks score 20 touchdowns next year, let alone them coming through the air. This team is going to be bad, like really, really bad. Like I don't know a better word to say other than just really, really bad, because this is a strong division. This is a good NFC West, and DK Metcalf is not going to be able to overcome Geno Smith and Drew Lock. We saw what Drew Lock did to Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy, where everyone's expecting both to take huge steps. You mentioned KJ Hamler before. Wide receiver 4. It's Drew Lock nullified anything good that can happen. And the only one that had any success is somebody that traveled with him to Seattle, Noah Fant. Noah Fant had some relevance as tight end, and now he's kicking in Seattle. That's an actual tight end receiver that Seattle has not had. That's another weapon you can add to a crowded receiving group that is not going to work because of how bad the quarterbacks are. So I think some situations are that bad that I won't take at any discount. If I'm going to take one, I'll take Tyler Lockett, who's going rounds after DK. But if I'm expecting DK to be my wide receiver 2, even my wide receiver 3, I'm in trouble because I don't think he's going to live up to that, even in best ball. I'm not going to bet. I don't think he's that famous last words. I don't think he's that guy to be overcoming that much. I think that's fair to say.
Well, I was one of the people that drafted DK in the Scott Fish Bowl. I got him in round 7, but I faded wide receiver. He's my second wide receiver. But I mean, just the talent. I get what you're saying, and it could very well happen. But I do think with bad quarterback play, a lot of times they throw it up. And DK is one of those players that can, just get it. Whereas Lockett, more separation type guy, but if with bad accuracy and everything, Lockett can't necessarily get all those contested catches. So I think if someone were to succeed with bad quarterback play, I could see it being DK. But I do agree with you. Just it's going to be hard for him. I don't even know if Geno Smith starts, if it's going to be any better. I think it's still going to be bad. Yeah. But definitely will be interesting. If he even is with the team, because there's all the talks about trades and everything. And honestly, I think they probably should either trade Lockett or him because they're obviously rebuilding. It's a weird situation in Seattle. They have Pete Carroll, who's not young, but it's like they're doing a rebuild, but they have an old coach. It's maybe only going to be there 1 or 2 years. So it looks like a little bit of a mess in Seattle.
Pete Carroll is the youngest, oldest coach in the NFL as well. Like he's like 72. The man runs out there like he's 45. It's inspirational. But that's even another nail in the coffin for me because Pete Carroll won the power battle this offseason in terms of Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll. They were fighting at the end. They respect each other, but they were fighting. Russell wanted more pass heavy. Pete wanted to be more run heavy. They outed the offensive coordinator because of that, because they want to be more run heavy. They went out and drafted Kenneth Walker in the second round. The Seahawks will be losing most games. That will force them to pass eventually. But Seattle also doesn't want to throw the ball to DK. Like that's another nail for me, is that Seattle wants to be a run-heavy team, and they will try to be. And that just makes it another barrier against DK because the volume isn't even going to be what it should be for a team that's going to be as bad as they are. Okay. That and talking about DK gets me all riled up because I was wrong about him once upon a time. I didn't like him all that much. Proved me wrong, but now I can confidently say I don't think he's going to overcome these situations he got. But that will be our show. I want to thank Brandon again for coming on, especially the last minute. You guys don't know, but the last minute, this man stepped up today, provided an excellent show, might I say. Thank you, Brandon. Do you have anything you want to shout out there? Anything you want to promote?
No, just make sure to keep on looking at the IDP Guys YouTube channel. We're doing short 1 minute videos with sleepers and busts on the offensive and defensive side for fantasy for all 32 teams. So check out those.
Yeah, no, I can't emphasize that more. I mentioned it yesterday as well, but Grant, who runs our YouTube channel at IDP Guys, has been doing exceptional work, just grinding out that channel. It's been growing ever since. There's long form content like this, like other podcasts, and then there's short stuff like our legendary, iconic mustached Matt Recker likes to put out shorts that you just get it out there. Brandon puts them out too. Definitely check it out there. That will be our show. That will be from college to combine today on, July 20th. Almost at August, almost at the actual preseason. When we'll be here next week, 7 p.m. Eastern on Wednesday. We'll get to talk about some training camp a little bit more. We'll have a little bit more heat. Maybe we'll know what happens with Deshaun Watson. Either way, thank you guys for tuning in. Definitely check out idpguys.org. Follow us on Twitter at idpguys, and as well as obviously the aforementioned YouTube channel, IDP Guys. So for frequency's sake as well, that's where you're watching right now if you're watching live. If not, obviously check them out anyway. Same thing, YouTube, Twitter, Discord. We also have Discord and IDP Guys for frequency's sake. Both pop off. Both deserve checking out. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to this episode. I will see you next week, Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern.